Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson. I got my new friend that I'm able to call Tyler Foley right now, but it's actually Sean Tyler Foley. And he's got some pretty sweet like actor credits. The guy is a total, boss, baller. And he's acted in some pretty solid films, but he's also somebody that wants to help you level up and basically take it to the next level with regards to your life, not being afraid to speak out, speak your mind in a way that really doesn't piss too many people off. But if it does, then sometimes that's their problem. He's north of the border. Dude's been on stages with, Tony Robbins. I'm just immensely respecting this guy, Mr. Foley, and I'm so blessed to have him on. And Tyler, please come on, introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Easily blue, and it's the color of the ocean, which I am a seeker of often. So that would be...
I'm looking at the Atlantic right now, brother. On the one side,
I know. I am jealous. And I haven't been to West Palm Beach since I think 2018. Okay. I wasn't on stage with, but attended Date with Destiny, and it was either 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2018.
Same time, right downtown West Palm at the convention center. That's hilarious.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah,
let's get to the roots, man. You did a lot. You're someone to do what you do lives a very audacious life, man. Getting out there, lots of rejection, lots of victories, whether they're little or big. But can we get to the roots of you, brother, and just see where you started and how you're getting up now to where you leveled up and how you help others?
So I started on stage at a very young age. When I was 6 years old was the first time I got a taste of an audience, and I've been hooked ever since. I was first in a Christmas pageant in what would have been December 1985, and that was probably the greatest influence in my life, was being able to be on stage in front of people before I knew that I was supposed to be afraid of people when you were on stage. And so I never did develop that fear, and instead developed the love of a crowd. And it's guided basically every decision I've made since.
Wow. So it's like, may I ask how old you were in 85 when you did this?
Yeah, 6 years old, man. Six years old.
So you were very young and naive, for lack of a better term, to really know what the crowd is. So you use that to like move forward in your life, to you go in and talk to people or even audition, for parts and stage. And what is the biggest part of that you take away to be as audacious as you are?
Well, one of the interesting things that I've learned over almost 40 years in film, television, and stage is that talent has nothing to do with why you get or don't get a role. Talent is what gets you the opportunity to be seen. And I think so many people take that no as a rejection. And I've had the pleasure of being on both sides of the camera. So I've been a casting assistant. I've been a reader in the casting room. I've done casting myself. I've been a producer. I've been a director. And then I've been in front of the camera as a performer and actor. I've even done some stunts, which was super fun. And in all of those cases, what I found is that talent is why people will think of you and call you, but talent doesn't book you the role. Circumstances beyond your control are. And I've translated that into life too. Tony says it best: life happens for you, not to you. And a lot of times those things that are outside of our control are what influence the universe for coming up and showing to you. And that was a lesson that I got to learn very early, and subsequently has served me for a very long time.
That's amazing. There's a great book that I make every one of my employees read, and I read it at least once a year. It's called Go for No, and it's really going for that rejection, right? And being okay with that. I understand that you were younger, so you really didn't know the how scared that you should have been. But like moving forward in life, how did you handle rejection and, for lack of a better term, keep that chin up?
Well, again, it became a habit. I was very lucky to start young, and and it was never a thing that I was like pushed to do. It was always a thing that I wanted to do. So my mom wasn't a stage mom. After my first appearance on stage, which would have been December 1985, my father actually passed away February 1986. Sorry. And so my mom was a single mom raising 2 kids, widowed, and, really trying to make things work and happen in the best way that she could. And I never wanted for anything. My mom was an incredible provider, and just an inspiration, frankly. And so for me, mom it was a thing where, do you want to do this? And I'd be like, yes, I want to do this. And then she'd say, okay. And then she would make it happen. And my aunts and my uncle would come together and they'd try to get me up, because I lived in a very small town south of our main metropolitan area. And I, super rural, and most of everybody was a rancher. So like, wow. I was the outcast because I was this kid going in and singing and dancing in the city. Hey, are you sure he's okay? I remember my uncle. He always looked at me with a little bit of a side eye, being like, I don't know about this kid. And but it was just how life was. So rejection was just kind of a part of it. And so mom would always prep me. She'd be like, you might not get the role. And I'd be like, yeah, that's okay. And what was helpful was that I was doing theater at an age when very few other people would have been doing it at my age. So when I was going out to audition, it was me and like 4 other guys. And I knew them all because we saw each other all the time. Wow. So like, I knew when Dave was showing up. I knew when Jared was showing up. I knew when Hannah was showing up, and we'd be like, hey, did you get that last time, that thing that we did? Right. I'd be like, no, I got it. Oh, you got it. I thought you'd get it. Right. And then we knew when somebody else was going to get it. So I just kind of learned that rejection is part of the process, and that for every no, I was very metric oriented very early on. So I tracked all my auditions. I tracked what my wardrobe was to the auditions. I had a spreadsheet. I had a spreadsheet when I was like 10. That wasn't even an Excel spreadsheet.
I was going to say, it's probably written or typed up or something.
My mom is an accountant. And so I had like this ledger, an accounting ledger that had all these fields. And so I would handwrite in when I went, what the role was for, who the casting director was, what I was wearing, what time it was. And I started to see trends. Like, I book better on Fridays in the afternoon than I do Monday mornings.
Wow.
It just, and so it was just those little things where I was like, so I knew, again, some of those things were outside of my control. Some of them were, and I could only control what I could control. And so the rejection was never a problem, because I knew that I didn't get everything, but I also knew that I got some of them. And so it was easier to move on to the next one. If you didn't get this role, well, I'm going to audition again. It's not like the auditions are just magically going to disappear. They're always going to be there.
That's so funny, because literally this morning, bro, like, I do my morning readings, I win my morning day, whatnot. And I read the George Bernard Shaw that said it's okay to be unreasonable, right? And like, you can't control the uncontrollables. It's like, be that unreasonable person that just goes out and takes what life gives you and turn it around, to work for you. And that's exactly what you did. Like, I heard you a lot in what you just said, that you'd like to celebrate other successes too. When you were saying Hannah and, this and that, and like, how important is that in life, especially in something as competitive as you are, to seriously even consider celebrating other successes?
Well, I think it's important, because you never want to be the person that people don't root for, because that energy will come back,
Oh,
and I've always, it's that golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And I want people to celebrate my successes. So I have to celebrate other people's successes. And the other thing is too, it helps when you're like, if I don't get it, I want my friend to get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And so then you kind of rally and you have the support group, and then you have people to work with too. That's it. Because it's a small industry. when you get big and you get out to some of the larger centers like New York or Hollywood, or you get out to, you know, in my case, Vancouver or Toronto, even as big as it is, it's still small. Like,
Small.
you know, you go from 4 people in the casting room to maybe 15 people in the casting room, but it doesn't take long to meet 15 people and be like, hey, and we keep seeing each other over and over again. And, you know, I don't ever want to be the one that somebody wants to push down the stairs.
No, I feel you on that. I'm the big believer that we can all come together and collaborate versus compete in a lot of things, especially being a coach. You know, I lean on other coaches a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if for advice, if I have a crazy coaching session, I might reach out to, say, Bob Berg or somebody, just be like, hey, you know, this is what happened. And really, because I didn't try to compete with them as much as collaborate. And I love that you said that, and to be the person that people want to walk down the stairs with and not push down the stairs, man. So who do you work with people one-on-one, Tyler, or what exactly do you do to help people level up then?
Well, so my main training program is actually a large group program. So we've modeled the power of influence over the off my book, The Power of Success. And typically that's about a 200 to 250 person attended event over 2.5 days. And then we have an extension of that is dedicated to 80 people over the course of 5 days. Because again, I'm helping people public speak. And if I can't see you in front of a crowd, it's really hard for me to judge. We can talk theory all we want.
All day.
You know what I mean? I can do one-on-one with you and I can get you comfortable, but until you're standing in front of 500 eyeballs on 250 heads, I don't know where you're at. And so it's really important to me to have those larger venues. That, and it brings the cost and accessibility to me down, so that you know, average person who's struggling with this fear of public speaking or this fear of communication, this fear of public judgment, is really what it boils down to, so that we can address that quickly and in an accessible manner. And then I do one-on-one coaching, because you'd be ridiculous not to, and that's always part of the business model, but that's usually reserved for the people who really want to step up their game, and they want it right now, right? The higher the price tag, the more the accessibility and the more I can dedicate my time to you.
Love that. I love that you work both sides of the spectrum. I'm not the mastermind or the speaking in front of people yet. That's something that I'm aspiring to. But let me ask you something. When you're maybe working with that mastermind or even one-on-one, and what do you notice with people that are really wanting to get their voice heard, their biggest blind spot?
Their biggest blind spot is usually that they feel that they don't have a story. Right there, it becomes this comparison thing, and Tony's a perfect example of that. So many people that come and work with me are like, I want to be Tony Robbins. I'm like, you will never be Tony Robbins. And I'm not saying that to degrade you. He is literally the giant in the industry. Right.
Yes.
And is Tony, and Tony is not Les Brown. Les Brown is not Tony. Tony is not Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is not Tony. All those are individuals, and we know them by name, you know, because they have their own style. They have their own development. And then the next problem is that with that comparison, people are like, well, you know, I want to do it on this thing. And I'm like, well, do it your way.
Right.
Tony's thing is Tony's thing. And it's taken him 30 to 40 years to really hone in on. Like, I remember Tony Robbins from the 80s as infomercials and getting his, you know, Unleash the Power Within cassette tapes in his books on, you know, for $9.95.
All that. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And you get the, you know, the plastic case with 12 cassette tapes in it. Like, I had them in my 1986 Honda Accord when I first started to drive. I would listen to Tony yelling at me from my radio. And so what I tell people is that you need to embrace you. Everybody's looking for that authentic speaker. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is that authenticity is synonymous with self-awareness.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, I grew up in the military. I'm a Marine and I swear a lot. And so that makes me authentic. No, it doesn't.
No, I feel
swearing is not what makes you authentic. Right. You embracing your story. Tell me why you joined the service. That's a story, because that's going to be unique to you, because, you know, we know that there are hundreds of thousands of dedicated men and women who have given their service to their country.
6 tours here, baby. There you go.
No. And each one does it for a different reason.
Yeah.
That is the interesting thing. And when you can come out and start speaking that, that's when you start to find those other people who identify with that. That's when you start to find your audience, your avatar. That's when you start to find your tribe, whatever you want to call it. Those are your people.
Love that, man.
Come out and tell their story first, and tell it in a way that is no BS, no fluff, and just make it happen. That's when you have the real power within your story. And that's usually, like I said, the mistake that most people make.
I love that. It is so true, because I tried, when I first started speaking, to emulate people. And I had my speaking coach, you know, George, say, listen, man, you are high energy and you're trying to not be. He goes, be yourself. I am, you know, I did 6 tours downrange in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. I worked that into my story, but I've also been in child slavery. I was smuggled into this country, and I use a lot of that. I mean, I was on freaking Ricky Lake and Montel Williams, like all this stuff back in the 90s. And it's funny, I did steal from Tony the trampoline. So I start rebounding everybody. I'm 50 years old now, and I feel that being 50, you know, I'm lapping people in their 30s because of it. So I start my presentations on a trampoline. I tell them, whether I'm speaking about getting your ass in gear or overlapping happiness, whatever I'm talking about, I'm on the trampoline for about 1.5 minutes. And I'm like saying, hey, if you're an inch off the trampoline, you're at 0 gravity, and you hit that trampoline, you're at 4 times the gravity, it flushes out your limb system. But the best part about it, Tyler, is everyone's heads are going like this. So they're about to affirm what I'm about to talk about. And it just worked for me because the energy's there. I'm rocking it. And with that, let me ask you something. When people, maybe you speak in front of large crowds, or you have a big mastermind, or even your one-on-ones, is there any good question that you wish that they would ask you but never do?
No, the question that I wish they would ask more of is, what am I missing? It's a question that I ask myself quite regularly, because I don't know everything. And I think if more people would ask that question, particularly speaking in front of a crowd.
Sure.
Right? Like, because ultimately, if you are speaking in front of a crowd, you as a speaker have been given the greatest gift that any one human can be given. And that's somebody else's attention and time. And you need to treat that like the sacred gift that it is. And your only job as a speaker is to leave those people better than you found them. Yes. And if you're not asking the question, what am I missing? You're very likely not serving them to your highest potential.
That's beautiful, bro.
And so it's a question that I'm trying to ask regularly. It's not one that I would be asked of me.
Sure.
But it's definitely one that I wish more people would ask of themselves.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You're in the movie, so you've seen the movie Back to the Future, right?
Oh yeah, very familiar with it. It's one of my favorite of all time.
Right, mine too. So I can't believe it's 38 years old. It's gonna be 40 years old soon, man. It's crazy. So actually, it came out, I think, the first year you got on stage, bro.
It is.
So
it was actually one of the first movies that I ever saw.
Love it. I love it. So let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Tyler. And you know, you've had a fantastic life, man, and whatnot. But what would you drop on him? Again, not so much to change anything, but maybe help the 22-year-old Tyler who's maybe shorten his learning curve, blast through, or level up, maybe just a little bit quicker.
I would probably go see Dr. John DeMartini.
Dude, yes.
Because taking the breakthrough experience was one of the greatest, again, gifts that I was ever given. One of my mentors, Bob Corbett, who was instrumental in my development, at a young age, Bob really took me under his wing. I had a medical incident when I was 17 that left me paralyzed on the left side of my body for over a year.
Wow.
And Bob and his wife, Dr. Joanne Corbett and Dr. Bob Corbett, really stepped in. They kind of were the tip of the spear for my medical treatment. They really headed it and led it. And but before that, Bob had been a father figure in my life for years. I was, really good friends with his daughter and his son. I have the joy and the privilege of saying that I was a groomsman at Jason Corbett, his son's wedding, and I will be officiating his daughter's wedding this summer. Man. So I'm very well connected with the family. But he gave me a ticket to the breakthrough experience with John DeMartini when I was in my probably late 20s, if not into my 30s.
Sure.
And I remember going to it and inherently knowing the things that Dr. DeMartini was saying were true because I had experienced it over the course of a decade.
Right.
But it would have accelerated that learning curve a lot faster to have had somebody sit me down and explain it in John's very masterful way sooner. And
right.
I know, like, even in my late 20s, I was very angry and very reactive. And it had a negative impact. Weirdly so, like super weird. I am a goaltender in hockey. Okay. I'm Canadian, so obviously I'm going to play ice. And I'm an introvert and a weirdo, so I'm naturally a goalie. And I was playing in a league and didn't like it, wasn't having fun, and like lashed out at the league owner. And I remember I emailed him and said, I don't ever want to be associated with your league again because I'm not having fun. And it's very powerful language. He remembered that league commissioner. When I wrote that email, the league had just started up. There was only 3 teams in the league. It had grown and expanded to be like 5 divisions with, hundreds of teams. And a buddy of mine, Andy, phoned me up like a decade later. I'd totally forgotten about this thing. And he phoned me up. He's like, hey man, our goalie got hurt. Can you come and sub for us? I was like, sure. He's like, you just need to fill out this form and get permission from the league commissioner. Fill out the form. And the guy wrote me back. He's like, no, you said you didn't want to be affiliated with my league and I don't want to be affiliated with you. A decade later.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, I have changed as a human being.
Right.
But those kind of lessons to have learned earlier on could have saved a lot of headache later.
Yeah, man. It's like a hammer and a nail, man. You can pull the nail out of the wall, the hole's still there, bro. And people see that. So how do you want your dash remembered, man? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, man. Your life date and your death date. How does Tyler want his dash remembered?
I want it remembered not by me, but by the contributions my daughter makes to the world. Because I think she is my living legacy. So I want to be known as Tyler Foley, father to Mackenzie Foley.
Wow. And
because her legacy will be the biggest reflection of what I have done in my life.
Wow. That's strong, man. How about, what do you think people misunderstand the most about you?
They think that I'm an extrovert.
Really?
Because I've been on stage and I really am quite lively. This is me at my most lowest energy. I was recording last night. I had a podcast that I was recording at 2:15 a.m. my time, and we didn't get off until almost 4 a.m. and it's 8 o'clock my time now. And I had to get my daughter up into school at 6. So I'm pulling my best to
you're rocking
be
it, man.
Alert. And I don't drink coffee. That's the other thing too. Like I am high energy without caffeine. I'm actually allergic to caffeine. So if I have anything caffeinated, I know about it because I don't sleep for about 72 hours. So I gotta do me like this. And so most people think that I'm an extrovert, and the reality is I'm an introvert. And I think people misunderstand what an extrovert and an introvert is. An introvert doesn't mean that I want to like shrink away and, I'm quiet as a mouse and do not wish to interact. No. I have no problem interacting with people. The problem is when I interact with people, it drains my energy.
Right.
An introvert gets energy from being alone. An extrovert gets energy from people. And though I do understand that, like if I'm in front of a crowd, I think it's my biggest expression of my introvert nature.
Yeah.
Because usually, like anybody who's been on a big stage knows those lights go up and you don't see anybody, but you can feel them.
Feel it.
And
that
it's
energy.
being able to feed off of that energy keeps me going. But as soon as I get backstage, I collapse. I'm like,
dude, you and I are like brothers from different mothers, man. Like I am I'm the guy that will go to my kava bar. Like I like to drink kava. It's a root. It's good for you. And just sit there by myself with a good book, bro. And then people want to talk to me. I get approached a lot because I know what I do with coaching and stuff. I do try to help as many people as I can, but I don't, like you, go seeking that attention. And that's just me. Other people that do, I have no problem with that. But that's man, we're so aligned in so many things. So what is Tyler's definition of a life well lived?
Oh, again, it would come back to that dash. Right,
life and legacy of your daughter.
I will have lived a good and well-lived life. I will have had my time to shine if I'm remembered as my daughter's father.
That's awesome.
Because that'll be the ultimate testament to, me and my growth, is being able to teach my offspring how to do that and see her succeed.
That's beautiful,
and I really do. I want to be. I don't know what my daughter is destined for. She has so many interests, and we try to encourage them all.
That's awesome.
Because I don't know which one's going to stick.
Right.
But, I want to see her do great things, as all parents do. But
I love that you're doing that. Just letting her kind of explore. And like your mother did, in a sense, where she's just like, Sean Tyler, do you really want to do this? And when you said yes, she bought in and made sure it happened. That's what you're doing. That's beautiful, Sean. Man, I
never forced it either. Like if I didn't want to do an audition, I didn't do it. And the best and worst part is my daughter's followed in my first step. She got her first commercial when she was 11 months old, and she loved auditioning for a long time. And then COVID hit. She was 4 years old, and all the moved to the studio because we were all self-taping, and she rapidly hated it. Her joy when she was auditioning was getting to see the other kids in the room and getting to see her friends and making friends on set.
Just like your daddy. Yeah.
Very similar, actually, because every time she would audition with somebody, she'd want to get their name and we'd have to talk to their parents. And can we have a play date? Because I want to know. And if she got a thing, she was happy. If somebody else got a thing, she was happy.
Yeah.
And then when she that social interaction, she didn't want to do it anymore. She was like, Daddy, no. And I was like, okay, and our agent would phone her and be like, I'm submitting. And I was like, until we can get in-person auditions, she doesn't want to do it.
Do it. Man, it's like a chip off the old block in a sense. And squad, we are going to take my good friend here, Tyler, through our leveling up lightning round just as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Tyler, you and I'm sure we might cross paths now. I'm sure we have. We just never connected before. But, maybe we'll sit down, have a beverage or a bite, and maybe discuss some of these questions, take 15, 20 minutes. But in our lightning round, you got 5 seconds with no explanations. You ready to rock?
I'm born ready.
Born ready.
Do this.
I love it. Tyler, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Rapid fail.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Constant reflection and diarizing.
Love it. So if you see me walking down the street, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums. What's one book that's really inspired you to level up that you might hand me? Other than the one you wrote.
Other than the one that I wrote. Yeah. Can I give 3? Because I can do it in 5 seconds. The Fool's Progress by Edward Abbey, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and The 4 Agreements.
Oh yeah, Kohilo, I love it. I always add Viktor Frankl in there with As a Man Thinketh. I love that as well. So, what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Eggplant. No, I can't back that up. Either the thumbs up or the winky face.
That's awesome. Nicknames growing up?
I had so many. Pancake, Spud, Bud, Foles, Foley. The list goes on.
Love
Pancake
it.
was my favorite, though.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Oh, I love all three. Chess.
Beautiful. Go-to ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Me too. Dude, weird. Awesome. There's a sandwich called the Spud Foles. Build that sandwich for me.
Oh, that's easy. Spud Foles has not fried egg, but scrambled egg, and the tiny potatoes, hash brown potatoes, the diced cubed ones,
dude.
With a little bit of hot sauce, some bacon, and this will sound weird, some refried beans on a flatbread.
Love it. I love that you put some man candy bacon on there. Beautiful. Favorite charity and organization you'd like to give your time or money to?
Made by Mama. It is a local charity here to Calgary. It is 100% volunteer owned. Over 98% of donations go directly back to the charity. And I live, bleed, and die by them. I think they're doing incredible work and need more people to know about it.
Love it. And last question, you can elaborate a little bit on this one. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, 70s.
70s, really? All right.
Yeah. So 60s has all the classics, but 70s had the diversion that created all the great music of the 80s and 90s. I'm a 90s fan, but all of the 90s bands can trace their roots back to the imitations of the 70s bands they were trying to
do. The greatest storytellers were the 70s, man. You know, with Croce and, you know, or even Zeppelin, you know, or
Zeppelin, Dylan,
story.
Dylan, you know, you get all of those classic albums, thank you for shouting out to Canada, because Gordon's a hero.
I got to meet him when I was 7 years old. It was like the highlight, man. I was like, oh, Edmund Fitzgerald, I know this song, Dad. He's like, want to meet him? Because my dad was a huge guy. Security, man. He works
half of my Canadian history I owe to Gordon Lightfoot for singing about it.
His stories are amazing, man. I don't care if it's Carefree Highway, Sunday, it doesn't matter. And even his like less well-known songs, they're beautiful. So Tyler, how can we find you, brother?
The best place to go is my website, which is SeanTylerFoley.com. Sean is spelled the proper Irish way, SEAN. TYLERFOLEY.com. Very likely they're going to be able to find that in the show notes. So what I would ask of your audience right now, Scott, is before they go to my website, they're already on yours. And so if they're about to scroll down to the show notes because they're like, hey, this Tyler guy sounds interesting, and The Power to Speak Naked, I got to see what the cover of that book looks like. And you do. You really, really do.
It's cool.
Before you get to the show notes, there's a little bar right above them, and it has a grouping of stars and a little thing that says comments. And so if you're listening to Time to Shine right now and you're like, hey, this is really good, and I love what Scott's doing, and I love the energy that he brings every day because it brightens my day and allows me to level up and shine, please, please, please tell him that. Those stars aren't there for decoration. Those stars have a functional use. So if you could click the fifth one over and give this podcast a 5-star review, and then tell Scott why, because that comment section isn't blank for a reason. It's there filled with words of encouragement about what you like about this show. So if you're enjoying Time to Shine, what was your favorite episode? What's one of your best takeaways? What was one of the best book recommendations that you got from this? What was some of the best advice that you heard? Be specific, because that will help Scott level up. It will help him get bigger, better, greater guests, because he'll know how to tailor that content to serve you, the listener. So it serves everybody here. It helps you get better content out of this. It helps Scott level up and get the guests that are going to serve you better. It helps me, because if we're getting more 5-star ratings, that means this show will have more traction, which means that I will have a higher probability of being heard. So as a thank you from me for helping us all, if you come to SeanTylerFoley.com, and remember it's spelled the proper Irish way, SeanTylerFoley.com. If you come to SeanTylerFoley.com, as my thank you for giving Scott a 5-star review, and only if you give the 5-star review, I will give you a free PDF download of my #1 best-selling book, The Power to Speak Naked. I will also give you access to my Drop the Mic Speakers program, which is 7 videos, 5 minutes each, so you can learn everything you need to in a week about being a better speaker. So they're very quick, actionable, implementable items, 5 minutes each. You watch it for a week, you will be a better, stronger presenter. That's my gift to you for free. Plus, we'll give you access to my Endless Stages Facebook group, where I go live every Tuesday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern time, and do a 20-minute live training on whatever happens to be the hot topic in the group that day. But
Amazing.
You only get those gifts with a 5-star review. No 5-star review, no gifts for you. And I'm serious about it.
Thank you. Yeah, checks in the mail, man. I know. I really appreciate that, brother. Let's talk, kind of a really abbreviated version, because I know your time's critical today, but The Power to Speak Naked. Let's dig into a little bit, maybe like an abridged kind of version of that, because I want to put anyone that puts Spud Foles, SPUDFOLES. I don't care if you text it to our team, put it in Pinterest, Instagram, wherever you're going to see this. Spud Foles. I'm going to get Sean on my dime to mail you out a signed copy of his book. But can we dig into the book just a little bit here, Sean or Tyler?
Yeah, sure. So the nice thing about the book is it's basically my training course transcribed, because that's how we wrote the book. I didn't write the book. I spoke the book. And we had the training course long before the book ever came to be. So what we did was we took literally hundreds of hours of me through training sessions and took the best of the best of the best. Every once in a while, lightning strikes and I say something really smart. And I'm so thankful that I have a team recording me, because otherwise I'd never remember what I said. And so we've compiled it all into this book, 10 chapters. They're really easy to read. According to my publisher, this is a 114-minute read, which is like under 2 hours.
Wow.
So this is the kind of thing that you can sit down on the beach with, and you'll get a lot of looks if you do. I've got pictures of people doing it. It's hilarious. You can sit down on the plane. You can, read it a couple of times within your office on your coffee break. And there are 10 chapters: how to be a more confident speaker, how to frame your story, how to tell it powerfully, and how to really make an impact with your audience.
Is that you on the cover, brother?
Wouldn't it be awesome if it was? I would love to. Yeah, I mean, that guy works out. He's got some pretty nice lats. No, that is a stock photo purchased from Jeff Bezos's site, and Jeff won't let me advertise my book on his site because it breaches his nudity policy.
I feel you. So do me one last favor before we get you out of here, Tyler. Leave us with one last knowledge nugget that we can take with us, internalize, and maybe take some action on.
Absolutely. So I will leave you with one thought, and we alluded to it at the beginning. You have a story to tell. You have no idea the impact that your story could have until you tell it. The biggest disservice you can do the world is to not tell your story. Wow. And if you're trying to be a leader, leaders are the ones who have the bravery not to do the hard thing, but to say the hard thing.
Wow.
And so, if you really want to be a powerful and authentic speaker, the thing you're afraid to say is probably what your audience needs to hear.
Absolutely. And squad, I took my good friend, Tyler here a little bit long time. I really appreciated his time, but he was a guy that was on stage before he knew what it was supposed to be afraid. So he just let it, for lack of a better term, all hang out, man. He reminds us that talent has nothing to do with why you get a part or achieve something. It gets eyes on you for you to go in and show out to them. He reminded us of, TR saying that life happens for you, not to you. He wants you to be the person that people root for, not want to push down the stairs. Follow that golden rule, as he said. He reminds us you have a story. Tell that unique story. You never know who it's going to be able to impact. So get out there, hire somebody like, Mr. Foley here, and get up in front of people to help them level up their life. You know, ask yourself, you know, what am I missing? You know, sometimes attention and time, you know, it's a sacred gift. Leave those people, sacred gift, leave those people better than when you met them, whether you're on stage or you're in a coffee shop. Like my 2 New Year's resolutions every year is to make someone smile every single day. And of course, unless I've hurt you, offended you, stole from you or something like that, I don't care what you think about me. So it's okay if you get rejected when you're trying to talk to people. Learn from that experience. And that's what, you know, Tyler wants you to do. You know, he will be remembered as someone that left a fantastic legacy through being a great father. I mean, this dude is planting trees he's never going to sit in the shade of. And I'm going to reiterate, you know, you have a story to tell. The impact could be huge. You'll never know it until you tell it. And he reminds us that leaders say things that a lot of people will never say. Be brave enough to be respectful about it, squad, but say what needs to be said. And that's what my good friend, you know, Mr. Foley does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's hungry, yet he's humble. He's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I absolutely love your guts.
No, Scott, it was my joy and my pleasure, and I'm so happy we were able to make this work.
Awesome, brother. We'll chat soon.